Howdy everybody. Hope to make a video today on one of my favorite plant families. I have a whole bunch of different varieties of them around. This one happens to be called Blue Moon, and the camera never really picks the color of this one up perfectly, but still an absolutely gorgeous plant to see. I'm going to be talking about not just this species, but it's kind of, what's the name? I'm terrible with botanical names, but its whole family, not just this individual type, but Monardas as a whole, or bee balms. Bee balms are one of my favorite plants by far. They're native to North America, and they're in the mint family. A lot of people will hear mint and panic, but they are native, and they are not nearly so chaotic, I guess I would say. Mint, once you plant it, just wants to go everywhere as fast as possible. These tend to form clumps. Every year, like, right now, you got this many. Next year, you'll have a little more. Here, let me zoom out so my hand's actually more visible. So right now, you got that many. Next year, you'll probably have about that many. Year after that, just a little more. They just form a large clump. They don't tend to spread long runners that'll pick up in random spots. So they have most of the advantages of mint. They're extremely cold hardy, they're extremely tough, they're extremely tolerant of poor conditions, poor soils, and they have a lot of aromatic qualities, so most pests leave them alone. They also feed a ton of bees and hummingbirds. Hummingbirds really love them. Bees really love them. They're a great plant for the wild. These ones, you can see, they kind of look bald on top. Some of the others I show might not. The thing about these is they start blooming right up here on top. In fact, you can see that little wiggly thing. Looks almost like a worm. That's a dead flower. So it puts out fresh flowers constantly. Starts at the top, and it's like a firework. Bang! And it just spreads out all the way down the bottom. So it provides a lot of nectar for a long time for a lot of animals. And a beautiful show for a very long time. In fact, if I spread this one aside gently, there's one that's just starting. So I'm going to have a whole new flush of flowers. You can deadhead these if you want, but I usually leave them to mature. Every spot that there was a flower will form a seed, or at least it should if it was fertilized. And then you can take those seeds, maybe not this one, this is a trademark variety, it would probably be illegal for me to propagate it, but you can take those seeds from the wild types especially, pull them off or snip them off, and then I go around the garden and I just shake them. And after I've shaken them for a while and they've got most of the seeds out, I roll them in my hand, crush them up, and I usually find a couple more seeds that way and scatter them through the area. So they're easy to propagate through multiple ways. You can root cuttings in water, though I've never had any luck with that myself. I know it can be done. You can take cuttings and root them in soil. I've seen it done. Again, I've not had as much luck with it. I've had it work in a couple spots. But mainly, I just go up to the base. This one is on its first year here, so I wouldn't do it to this one. But I go up to an older one, I stick my shovel in, and I just carve off a chunk. Get a good-sized chunk off of it, and that chunk can go with me wherever I want in the garden. Oh, big angry storm cloud above me, and the wind just hit. It'll be raining on me real soon, so I'm going to stop yammering about just this one and show you some babies I just got. This one's at least a 2 to 3 year old plant I bought at a nursery. But behind us, in the same general area, I've got one I got from a different nursery that's very small. It was just propagated this year off of a small piece of a different plant. This one is going to be white bee balm, but it's not going to have any flowers because it's just way too young for that. See if I can get in here. This area is a bit of a weedy mess, of course, but as I spread this painfully sharp thistle aside, that is a white bee balm. And right over there is another one. So those are white bee balm, or basil bee balm. In a few years, they'll also be big and beautiful. Sorry if the wind's getting bad and if the audio is getting worse, but I'd like to show you a few more varieties, so we're going to go on a short walk. Oh boy, I'm telling you that wind is intense right now. But I know I have more spots that I've put bee balm right out here in my nut orchard. Bee balm does not have problems with juglone. Juglone is a poison produced by walnut trees to poison the ground around them to reduce competition. Certain species are bothered, some species aren't. Here's a patch of bee balm from Richter's. It's not flowering yet, but you can see that's how it looks right before it flowers. So that one looks really, really nice. And I'm going to pause, and if the rain doesn't get me, I'm going to show you a few more spots that I have a few different species. Here we are. See you in a minute. Alright, I ran to the back of the property. Here I have a large patch that's 3 years old, at least in this spot, of a red bee balm. This one's most often going to be called other things like Oswego tea, scarlet bee balm, many names, but again, a bee balm. And because this is a taller, sparser one, I can focus in on some of the qualities that make it more obvious that this is indeed a mint. First off, let's look at that stem. Beautiful, very square stem. I'm even gonna zoom you in if I can get a really good look at it. No, it's not going to want to focus. But hopefully even with that fogginess, yep, really, really square stem. So just like everything else in the mint family, very square stem. They start kind of puckering like a kiss. Sometimes they'll do it on multiple points on the same branch. But that's when they first start forming the flower. On my land, and I think is usually the case, the red are the very last to flower of the most common varieties. But yeah, these are the red bee balm. Some varieties of this can grow over 6 foot tall. They can get incredibly tall, incredibly beautiful. They're all edible, I should specify. All these make a great tea, usually used for a calming effect. But some of them, such as wild bee balm, which is a purple variety that blooms later than any other I've got, and it is a very, very pale purple, it's really spicy to me. Like it burns like eating a pepper. So it's very peppery, very spicy, and I've been told that there's some evidence that it has some antibiotic properties. But I'm not a doctor, so do your own research on that. But again, just a really amazing plant. The wild bee balm is Monarda fistulosa. Most of the garden varieties, the first one I showed you in this one, are Monarda didyma. The white bee balm is its own species that I'm maybe Melanocarpa or something like that. I'm probably wrong on that one. And it's a little bit too late to show it this year, but I have it in lots of other videos. I have Eastern bee balm, which is a pale pink one. Pale pink, really beautiful. Pretty large seed heads for a wild variety, or large flower heads, but it's short. It only grows like 8 inches to a foot tall. It stays really short. So it'd be great for like borders around a house, something like that. But that's another wild variety. That's Monarda Bradbury or something like that. I think Bradbury is the name of the man that discovered it, is what I would guess. But yeah, there's a lot of species. Tons of species. If you're into traveling all over the United States, there's a lot of them, because they're, again, native to North America. I don't know if there's any to the west of the Rocky Mountains, but from the Rocky Mountains east, there's different species all over the place. So again, awesome, native, slow spreading. I think I planted the first one about where that stem is, and in 3 years it's only formed a clump about that big. Just an amazing plant. Really, really fun to work with. I'm a big fan of them. So let's make a cut, and maybe I'll see one of those other species I mentioned somewhere, show it off to you before I call it quits. So see y'all in a moment. Alright, this one's still another Monarda didyma, but I wanted to show it off. It's a little bit early for it. It's not quite in bloom fully, but the first ones are opening. This one I believe is called Purple Rooster. I think I got it from Richter's, but I just wanted to show at least one more of these off before I head in. It is starting to come down, but just an absolutely beautiful plant variety. There are a lot of bugs taking shelter in here because they've been feeling the storms coming in. Looks like a couple of them are lightning bugs. But yeah, hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you've got an interest now in what my favorite plant variety is, or one of my major favorite plant varieties. This one was only a small little 4x4 plug last year, and this is one of the largest clumps I've got from something so young. But just an absolutely beautiful variety. Going to be a ton of flowers, a ton of food for hummingbirds, bees, everything. So I'll see y'all in another video as soon as I can, and I hope y'all have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.